Matagorda County. That's a new Tractor Supply. Used to be on that side of the road. We are in Bay City, Texas, in Matagorda County. I wonder if it ever quits feeling good to come home. We are looking into a 26-year-old murder case that happened in 1988. Our victim is Alma Henderson. She was 41 years old. She was a beauty queen in Honduras before meeting her ex-husband and moving to Texas. After they divorced, she did her best to raise her 5 children.
The last time anybody saw Alma was at the Oasis Club. She was dancing with different guys there, and then her body was found 2 days later.
Alma's body was discovered in the backseat of her car parked at a Holiday Inn. She was naked, appeared to have been sexually assaulted, and was shot point blank in the back of the head.
It's not like there's one man who has a reason to want her dead.
Right.
She doesn't have a husband who's mad. She doesn't have a boyfriend who's that upset. It's some person she talked to that night, which makes this case that much harder.
In most sexual assault scenarios, semen becomes a crucial source of obtaining a suspect's DNA. But strangely enough, in this case, there wasn't any. It's a big reason why this case went cold in the first place.
Oh, we got our work cut out, don't we?
Yeah.
It has been 16 years and still no answers.
Police consider her killing a cold case.
Years later, the case is still unsolved.
There are so many cold cases out there just waiting to be solved.
The crime scene ultimately tells the story of the murder.
We want to bring justice to these victims. Hello, boys. You must be Fred.
I am. How you doing, Kelly?
Nice to
I'm
see
Fred.
you.
Nice to meet
Fred,
you.
I'm Yolanda. Nice to meet you.
Hey.
Hi, baby doll.
How are you? Fine. How you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Fred, say your last name.
Wasilski.
Is that Czech or Polish?
Check.
All right, he's one of my people for sure.
I am. This case spoke very loud to me. I was taken back by what had happened to her. No one deserves to do anything like what they did to this woman and be able to walk away as a free person. And it's my passion to make this right and bring the right suspect to justice.
Alma was murdered April the 8th of 1988.
Yes.
Talk about that night.
Well, let's back up to April the 7th.
Okay.
She had gotten off work, had gone out to the Oasis Club. She also was having car trouble, and she always had to have her car jumped off after she turned it off. The night she was at the Oasis, she stayed there until the time it closed, which was around 2:30 in the morning, which would make it April the 8th. Somewhere in that time, she picked up this gentleman from Corpus Christi.
TJ.
TJ, yes. And they ended up going back to the Holiday Inn, having a few minutes in the parking lot together. He says a few minutes later, he gets out of the car and goes into his room. On Saturday, when she doesn't show up for work, one of the daughters, her name is Cassie, goes to the sheriff's department to make a missing person report. Deputy Mitchell, after taking the report, he goes out and begins looking for her. He sees Alma's car on Sunday morning at the Holiday Inn. He sees a bundle of clothes in the back seat behind the driver's side. Sees a foot protruding out from under it. He realizes that it's a body, and that's where the investigation starts.
Alma was killed with a single .22 caliber gunshot wound to the back of the head, fired by a small semi-automatic pistol. But even more disturbing was that she appeared to have been violently sexually assaulted with some sort of unknown foreign object.
Okay, so y'all want to start with putting our suspects on the board?
Yeah.
Thomas Gerald.
That's TJ now.
TJ was 24 years old at the time. What are our factors that make us think he could be the one?
He reluctantly admits having sex with her in the parking lot of the Holiday Inn where her body was found, in the car.
Yeah.
And he's putting himself there.
Yep.
He gets an attorney.
Yeah,
he
he
refuses
lawyers up.
everything.
Yeah.
Refuses to cooperate.
His lack of cooperation makes him prime suspect right off the bat.
Okay, so next we're going to put up a recent photo of Cecil Canary.
He also was staying at the Holiday Inn Hotel.
That night, Cecil was seen in Lutule Park having an affair with a young lady.
Lutule Park is an area nearby that can be pretty sketchy at night. Couples go there sometimes to have sex and people do drugs there. It's not a very safe place at night.
That night, he was mad and intoxicated.
The night of Alma's murder, another woman who was seeing Cecil Kynard claimed he sexually assaulted her at the park. He was initially arrested, but the charges were later dropped. But with Alma's wounds suggesting she was sexually assaulted and the fact that Cecil was staying at the Holiday Inn that night, he's definitely a suspect.
You see a finger missing left
Oh, he's
hand?
missing one.
Left index finger.
Show me, which one?
This one. You know the story on how he lost that finger? He got bitten by a rattlesnake and said that he didn't think it was poisonous, and so he didn't go get it treated, and he lost his finger.
Stupid country boy. Okay, is there anything else on Cecil?
Our witness, David Wakefield, the security officer, he's making his round in the motel around 4 o'clock in the morning. He noticed Alma's car in the parking lot and sees people inside the vehicle. He checks it, and there is a white male in the driver's side and Alma in the passenger side. The white male exits the vehicle.
He claims he'd never seen this guy before, big, dumb, and ugly, no shirt on, barrel-chested.
David Wakefield is hugely important.
I've got problems with Wakefield, too.
Are you thinking of him as a suspect?
Yeah, because I'll tell you why.
Oh, gee.
She knew him. They knew each other. I'm thinking about if I was a woman, my car wouldn't start, I know the security guard, he'd be the first person I'd ask to come
Heck
boost
yeah,
me
you
off.
would. Wow, I didn't even think about that.
To me, he's an obvious suspect.
Well, I'm glad you thought of it because the defense lawyer will. Now we're looking at 3 suspects. The man that we know she had sex with, the man who has a history of assault, and the man she might have mistakenly trusted when she was at her most vulnerable. Alma's daughter, Cassie, was just 16 years old when her mother was killed. She's going to meet us today with her husband, Darren.
Hello. Hi there.
She's very nervous.
I'm Cassie.
Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
With a lot of good reason about opening this case up again and meeting us and going down this road in the hopes that it won't end up just causing her more pain. Talk about your mom. Where's she from?
My mother's from Honduras. My dad was in the Army, and he had come into town, and my mother was like some sort of a beauty queen.
What do you mean some sort of a beauty queen?
Like she was in
We've seen her
pageants.
pictures.
Yeah, she was in pageants.
Nice.
Yeah, and he saw her cross the street with some friends, and he just stopped, and he said he fell in love with her right then and there.
So like love at first sight.
Mm-hmm.
So when she came to Texas, to the United States, she was how old?
She was 30 years old.
So when they got divorced and your mom was raising y'all probably mostly by herself,
Oh, yeah.
where did she work then?
She worked at the restaurant there part-time.
So April the 8th, April the 7th, 1988, when is the first that you realized something was wrong?
I had tried calling her several times, and then I called the restaurant, and they said that she hadn't been to work, and I was like, that's highly, highly unusual.
So then y'all know something's really weird,
Right.
okay?
Then the police came to my home, I believe it was Sunday.
Okay, what'd they tell you?
They said that they needed to talk to me.
It's okay, take your time.
And I said, what's wrong? They said, you need to sit down. And they told me that they had found her dead. And I'm like, I just remember screaming and screaming and screaming. So I just couldn't believe that. My brothers were 13 and 14. I was 16. And I went and I supported them and I put them through school.
That's a lot to take on for 16 years old.
Yeah. We lived way out in the country, and we were dirt poor. And if she were alive today, she wouldn't have a warrior won't. I would have supported her and taken care of her and treated her like the queen that she was. These cops told me she was a whore and she was a prostitute. My mother was, and that's why she got what she deserved.
Well, let me just tell you, from all that we've read, there's nothing that says anything like that in all the paperwork.
No.
So if somebody told you that, the officers that worked on the case never said that about her, never insulted her, never called her anything like that, okay? And so you know that's not how we're looking at her, okay? And no one's ever gonna make her look bad any kind of way, so you do not worry about that. Some people gave Cassie the impression that they didn't care about her mom the way they should have. But we're gonna do all we can to find out what happened to Alma and get them both the justice that they deserve. It's a hard case, and I hope we get there, but I want you to know that even if we don't get there, we're gonna try our very hardest.
God bless you, ladies. There's a special place in heaven for y'all.
So, Yolanda, what's the plan today?
We're gonna go to the Holiday Inn Hotel where the victim and her car were found.
I wish we had pictures. It'd be nice.
Unfortunately, the pictures taken of this crime scene back in 1988 didn't turn out. They were overexposed and not usable.
In this case, instead, we're reading reports and trying to formulate in our head kind of where things were.
It's going to be a huge challenge to revisit a crime scene without photos. Hopefully, it'll make enough sense to us, or we might not ever be able to figure out who killed her. We're headed to the crime scene of the 1988 murder of Alma Henderson. We have 3 suspects, and each suggests a different theory of how that night played out.
Oh, she's parked directly. It'd be pretty much right there.
We know Alma gave TJ Deary a ride to the Holiday Inn from the Oasis Club around 2:30 a.m. after the bar had closed.
How do y'all know the car was here? What makes you know that?
Well, all the reports said it was backed in directly across from room 102.
Alma was found in her car with a single gunshot wound to her head. We don't have crime scene photographs to work with, but with the incident reports and evidence photos, it's still possible to visualize what this crime scene looked like. Alma's clothes were found on the floorboard behind the driver's seat, with Alma's nude body on her knees on top of them. Her purse, including her cash, laid near the front seat, and a single .22 caliber shell casing was behind her. Lastly, a blue jacket was placed over Alma's body, most likely to hide it from discovery. TJ Deary admitted to having sex with Alma in her car, the same car where she was found naked and murdered. There's no question he's an obvious suspect.
The car must have either died or they shut it off at some
I
point.
think they shut it off.
Obviously, we need another vehicle now to jump her. He takes off and never comes back to help her.
In his statement, he says he almost ran up the stairs to the room because he didn't want her to know what room he was staying in.
I mean, I ran. I said, well, I got what I want. I'm gone. I got a piece of ass. I'm going back to the room, go to sleep, and go to work.
So here's 227. It's right by the stairs. So he gets probably back here to these stairs and up.
His main thing is to get out of her
Get
line
away.
of sight.
Yep.
If we believe what he says.
TJ claims he left Alma after only a few minutes, ran to his room, and that's the last he saw of her.
When y'all got through having sex, did you shoot? No, sir.
But there's another story, based on what hotel security guard David Wakefield says he saw.
I saw her car come into the parking lot. I think it was 2:30 or 3 o'clock. Around 4 when I was making patrols with my flashlight. I saw her car. I didn't see anybody in it, so I went on.
He shined a light on the car, then he heard a car door open and turned and looked.
About the time I started walking off, they popped out of it. He was a big guy. I didn't know sure if he was tall, ugly, or stupid looking, or gruff looking.
The man that got out of the car without a shirt on
He says big. He says barrel chest.
didn't want to talk.
Yep.
David says he saw Alma enter the parking lot around 2:30. He saw her again with a tall, shirtless man around 4 o'clock in the morning. But David's description doesn't sound like TJ. TJ's only 5'8", but it could match Cecil Kinnard, who we believe arrived late to his room at the Holiday Inn that night.
Okay, so you think that right after TJ has abandoned Alma in the parking lot, Cecil drives up at the same time she needs a jump, pretends like he's going to help her, and then he assaults her?
If his statement is correct.
Right.
David Wakefield described seeing a guy that looked just like Cecil, but we don't know for sure Cecil and Alma ever had contact.
If David's telling the truth, then he saw someone who looked like Cecil around 4 a.m. But if Cecil was in Latoul Park around the same time assaulting another woman, is it even possible that he could have committed both crimes?
Cecil himself has never, ever admitted to talking to Alma that night, certainly not seeing her here.
And you can't forget that David is the last one that admits to seeing Alma alive. 80% of murders are committed by someone who knows the victim, and David knew Alma. And having a story about seeing her with another man would certainly divert suspicion.
We have 3 suspects and a bunch of theories about how Alma could have been murdered. But now it's clearer than ever that if we're going to figure out who killed her, it's time for us to start talking to witnesses.
This is Detective Kuntz with Bay City Police Department. We're doing an investigation regarding a murder we had back in April of 1988.
88.
Yes, sir.
Are you in any contact with Cecil Kynard at all?
I don't even know if he's still
Do
alive.
you remember this guy? T.J. Derry came up as a suspect in a murder that happened here in Bay City.
Man, it's just not ringing a bell.
We're reaching out to everybody that we can find who might know something about Alma, TJ, Cecil, or David. Do you ever hear any rumors at the club about who Alma was with or who it could have been or anything like that?
I figured that got figured out a long time ago.
But so far, we're striking out.
Do you remember the security guard that worked there at the Holiday Inn, the kid named David Wakefield? Do you remember him?
No.
That's the problem with a 26-year-old murder case. A lot of times people don't remember anything, and those that do don't remember anything useful.
Did you ever meet his parents?
No, because he was raised by wolves
Oh, Lord.
in Sweetwater. Like the wolves raised him, and these people found him, and
He actually told you
Yes.
that? He told you
And
to
see,
be
I'm
a true
so-
story?
Yes.
That was a new one.
There is one person who should know for sure how TJ was acting that night, and that's his roommate at the Holiday Inn, Roy Lowry.
We're working on this case from April of 1988. You had a roommate and y'all were on a job here in Bay City and you were staying at the Holiday Inn. Do you remember who your roommate was?
TJ, I remember.
Okay. Was there anything about him unusual when he came in that night?
As far as I can remember, there was nothing unusual. I mean, nothing that would have stuck out to stay in my memory for 26 years.
Okay.
Roy didn't get the impression that TJ was nervous or manic or anything to indicate he had just killed somebody. But we need to talk to TJ face to face to figure out if he just left Alma stranded or if he left her dead.
We're looking for TJ.
He doesn't live here.
You know how we can get a hold of him?
I have his phone number.
Yeah,
Can you let us have it? All right, thank you
ma'am.
very much.
Let's call him.
Hey, TJ. This is Detective Wasilski with the Bay City Police Department. We really need to sit down and talk to you and ask you some very important questions about that night.
Oh, man. You know, that's 26 years ago.
I understand that, TJ.
Yeah, y'all got me so paranoid. It's unbelievable.
There's nothing to be paranoid about. We're just here to interview you.
We'll sit in your living room. We'll sit in your porch. Just meet us at a restaurant. We don't care.
You buying dinner?
We'll buy dinner.
All right, I'll 7 o'clock.
Let's go get something to eat. As much as it pains me to have to break bread with a suspected murderer, when you're investigating a homicide, you do what you have to find the truth.
We're digging up bones, ain't we? Digging up bones.
We are investigating the 1988 murder of Alma Henderson. Johnny and Fred are about to sit down to dinner with our suspect, TJ Derry, who admittedly had sex with the victim in the same car the night she was found dead.
Anything else for you guys?
Yeah, my bread.
Bread. Oh, sorry about that. Have a right.
Come on, man. Your tape just got cut in half.
The second we sit down with TJ, we can tell that he's going to be a difficult person to talk to. We just have to figure out if he's a killer. The night you were in the bar, how long after you got there did you hook up with her?
I'd say I probably started working on it maybe about 11:30.
Okay. How long before you left?
The clothing.
Are you pretty sure you're on the parking lot at Holly Inn by 2:30?
Easy, yeah.
10 minutes to get her ready,
Yeah.
and then how long you in the South?
10 minutes at the most.
Did you see anybody else on the parking lot or hang around the motel?
No. The guys told me a security guy came to shine the light in the car.
Oh, the detectives told you that?
I said, y'all full of shit. You know, security guys walked by.
So at the very latest, what time did you get to your room?
I want to say it was 2:45 or close before 3 o'clock. When I walked away, I told him to go get the truck keys and give you a jump.
You went inside and went to bed. Last time you seen her.
TJ puts Alma on the parking lot with a dead battery, stranded just before 3 a.m. He lied, said he's going to come back and jump her car, but he ran away. This guy is a Class A jerk.
I knew I wasn't ever coming back.
Okay. The guy has no remorse. He doesn't feel a bit responsible for this.
I got some ass, I'm gone.
He used Alma, and that's all there is to it, and he doesn't care.
Guys, y'all met TJ. How do you feel about him being on our suspect board?
As much as I dislike him as a person, I don't think he had anything to do with killing Alma.
I have to agree with what Johnny is saying.
TJ's story today is the same story he told the police 26 years ago, and it matches his roommate Roy's story.
Was he up pacing around?
As far as I can remember, there was nothing unusual.
Both of them say that TJ never left his hotel room after getting there at 2:30 in the morning. So if David Wakefield saw Alma alive in the parking lot at 4 o'clock in the morning, TJ might be a creep, but he's not the one who murdered Alma. That leaves two suspects, either David Wakefield or Cecil Kynard.
So now we work on Cecil.
According to statements, Cecil really liked to brag about how much of a ladies' man he was. So we're going to talk to all of his old running buddies to see if he ever gave them any details about his sexual activities that might connect him to our victim.
My question is going to be about some conversations you might have had with Cecil having to do with his sexual practices. Do you remember him talking about things he liked to do with women?
I believe it was relating to fisting. He would use the nub of his severed finger to stimulate the female.
Fisting is a sexual fetish where a person will penetrate another's vaginal or anal cavity with their fist.
It sort of came out of nowhere one time, and I'm thinking, why are you telling me this?
Cecil was known to exaggerate, but if this is true, this could be an important piece of evidence.
He had the forefinger missing, and he liked to turn girls on with that.
Okay, did he say he'd insert his whole hand in their vagina?
Yeah.
Alma had unusual wounds inside her vagina, and I'm wondering if Cecil's alleged fetish could have caused this. We need to talk to someone who actually had sex with Cecil to see if there's any truth to these rumors.
There's some things I need to talk to you about, and they're kind of personal. It's about your sexual relationship with Cecil Kynard. Are you familiar with the terminology fisting?
Yeah.
Would you say that he had a fetish for doing that, or did he ever attempt that with you?
Yeah, and I would stop. I would, pull away and get mad.
And how did he react to that?
He would get mad, and he would try to get intimidating. That's one reason why it was very short-lived relationship.
We now have a first-person account that Cecil was into this sexual fetish. But what we have to establish is whether or not that activity could have caused those unusual wounds inside Alma's body. You look good. Look at you. So we've called in Dr. Perringall, who was the medical examiner that performed Alma's autopsy. He's also someone we all know. Okay, so tell us about the injuries that you noted.
Really, the one that you don't see them very often is the laceration inside the vaginal canal. It's a tear. They tear up the wall.
Could it have been caused by a fist?
Yeah, I think so. Because the fisting is big enough to lacerate the wall. It makes sense.
There is another woman who'll know about Cecil's sexual activity. That's the lady who accused him of sexually assaulting her the same night Alma was murdered. She later felt pressured to drop those charges, and she moved far away, but we have to talk to her. Because she was with Cecil right before Alma was murdered, if Cecil is our killer, she's got to know something. In our mind, you're pretty much critical to the case, and we just want to ask you some questions. She says, I just don't want to be involved. I don't ever want to come back to Texas. Nobody here knows what happened, and I don't want y'all to come see me, and I don't want to talk about it, and I don't want to be interviewed. Is it the embarrassing part? Is that what you're worried about? When you're a sexual assault victim, you're made to feel like you're a slut. You're made to feel trashy. You're made to feel like you're less of a human being, and that's the way it works in a courtroom. The question really is, 26 years later, does she feel strong enough to go through with it again when it doesn't benefit her at all? She was crying. She said, I need to think about it. So she's not saying no, she's just crying. Man, I hope she comes around because I'm not sure we can solve this case without her. We got her thinking, and if she says for you to come see her, the minute she'll let you, you're going. Shortly after Alma Henderson was murdered in 1988, a woman filed sexual assault charges claiming that earlier that same night, Cecil Kynard sexually assaulted her at the park. She later felt pressured to drop those charges and she moved away. Fortunately, she has very bravely agreed to talk to us about what happened to her that night. Hopefully, we can see whether or not it relates to Alma's murder in any way. We didn't come here today to drag up all the harm and the anger and the horrible things he did to you. When you're working on a cold case, it's all these little bitty things that help you be able to make a case against somebody so many years later. And that's why you're important.
So I want you to go back 26 years, and I want to hear your story about that night with Cecil. Just tell us what happened.
When I met him, he was very charming. But that night, he'd been drinking. He was like a different person. He just seemed angry. And then, when we got to the park, that's when he told me I was a whore. And that's when he grabbed me by the hair and jerked me back.
Take your time.
He told me that we were going to him, he was going to me the way he wanted to, and that if I didn't, he was going to kill my little daughter. And then he started, I kept asking him to please stop. He was hurting me.
What was he doing to you?
He was sticking his hand up in me.
So he inserted his entire hand into your vagina?
Yes.
We know that Cecil liked to use his fist sexually, which is consistent with the wounds on Alma's body. Now we have a witness who can testify that he also non-consensually sexually fisted her the very same night.
And then we seen lights, and he realized it was the policeman. And he told me that if I didn't stay quiet, he would kill me and the policeman. And he had a gun, and he looked at me and said, I will kill you.
What kind of gun was it? You remember?
It had a silver barrel and a pearl handle. It was white.
You know the difference between a revolver and an automatic, semi-automatic?
Mm-hmm.
Which kind was this?
This was an automatic.
The gun she describes is consistent with a gun that other people have associated with Cecil in the past. A small caliber chrome semi-automatic pistol with white grips. A gun that Cecil never turned over to the police, and a gun that's consistent with Alma's .22 caliber bullet wound and a shell casing found in her car. And now we can put that gun in Cecil's hands on the very same night Alma was murdered.
And then after the cop left, he told me he didn't need me, he could find somebody else. So then he took me back to my car.
How was he dressed when y'all left the park?
He had his pants on, he didn't put his shirt back on.
By the time she was through, the whole deck was shaking. The whole deck was shaking from how much she was shaking. It's very painful for her to go back to that night 26 years ago, but she's a strong lady, and this case is a whole lot stronger thanks to her. You don't even know how wonderful you were. Seriously, if we get there, it's because of you. She told police that Cecil left her outside of a grocery store around 2:30 in the morning, but we don't know what he did or where he went after that. We need to talk to David Wakefield, the man who was working security at the Holiday Inn and who's still a suspect himself.
How long did you work as a security guard there at that hotel?
I don't even remember. I think it was a year, but they call me a security guard, but that's kind of a loose term. I'm just mostly just like checking IDs and delivering papers.
No training, no certification, nothing.
No.
Okay. Working in the office, did anybody ever come and ask you to give them a boost?
Yeah.
And so that would be something you do. This happened in April 1988. After this happened, did you continue to work there?
Not too much longer. It caused me a lot of problems.
How's that?
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody thought I was the killer, but I mean, I had to talk to the Texas Ranger and the polygraph test.
But I'm trying to figure this out in my mind. Were you walking toward the back of the hotel, or had you been at the back walking toward the front?
I was at the back. I was walking
toward the front.
Toward the front.
Okay.
And let me see. Sometimes I get mixed up, but.
David's story seems consistent with what he initially told police, though today some of his logistics are a bit confusing.
Why don't y'all just take him out there and let's get this straight once?
Since David's being so cooperative, we're going to revisit the Holiday Inn parking lot with him to get an accurate account of exactly what he saw.
No, I knew the lady. I liked her. She was just friendly and the nicest person in the room.
When you actually saw them get out of the car, show me where you were.
Right here.
So they just kind of walked off. You kind of turned around, did your thing, and you looked back around, and they were gone.
Yeah.
You didn't think there was any problem with her?
No, she wasn't upset at all. Now, he was madder than hell.
How close did you get?
About that.
How close did he get to you?
He was next to her.
That close?
Yeah.
Okay. And
He
you
was
don't
madder
remember?
than hell.
You don't remember him? He'd been up here.
All I know is he was big.
And he was within 5 feet of you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
since he's looking down at
So
you.
he's looking down and, looked like he wants to kill me. And then I said, look, y'all got to go to the room. And then I'm out of here.
Now that we've cleared up David's version of what happened that night, it also matches his original story and it all makes sense. David wasn't a real security guard and he did not have a gun. Plus, he seemed to have a real fondness for Alma. Do y'all still think he's a suspect?
I know. This guy is harmless.
All right, so let's take him off as a suspect. With David Wakefield now a witness, we're down to one suspect. That's Cecil Kynard, and it's time to track him down. We're tracking down our prime suspect in the 1988 murder of Alma Henderson, Cecil Kynard.
Oh, Cecil. I'll rock your world, buddy. Oh, that's right, his house. He's sitting in the garage, y'all. Hello, Cecil. How you doing, sir?
Cecil, we're investigating the murder of a lady named Alma Henderson. We'd like to talk to you and clear up some things.
Yeah, let my wife know what's
Going, okay. Can she be present? Yeah, sure. Okay. You don't mind her hearing about your girlfriends and
No.
okay.
No, she knows all
Okay,
about it.
okay.
Man, I'm gonna put you right behind him, okay?
Cecil, you were staying in Bay City at the motel where she was found during that time period. We've got the records. I think
I was down there teaching for the university.
you met a young lady that worked at the hotel.
That's right.
All right, y'all were together in the park, and a police officer came up. You know what I'm talking about? Okay. And Cecil, I need to ask you a sexual question, and this is the part I told you that I didn't know if you wanted your wife in here or not. Okay. We've talked. Some people said you used to talk about something you like to do with that nub.
I don't have any idea what you're talking
You don't have anything else? No. Like you'd like to insert your hand and use that nub to tickle a woman?
No.
They call it fisting.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you. That's why I ask you.
No.
That's not true at all. You never try that on anybody.
No, sir.
Including me.
Well, there was no way I was going to ask that.
It'd be one thing if it was just one woman saying this.
Even his friends talk about how he talked about it.
Okay, did you have an automatic?
No, sir.
That's a good lie.
I've got statements from different people that said you at one time had a chrome automatic with pearl handles. 22. Never had one.
Oh, I like that lie.
Cecil denies ever owning a .22 caliber chrome automatic pistol with pearl handles. But we know from statements and Cecil's assault victim that he owned the gun and even had it with him that night.
All right, now let's go back to the park. The officer, when he pulled up there, how were you dressed?
I wasn't.
Okay, that's what he remembers too. He remembers you getting out and putting your pants on.
Be honest with
Okay, so that's it. Y'all are done. The sex part's over, and it's time to pack up and leave.
you. Yeah, we drove back to the Safeway and sat there and talked for a while. And then I went back to my room and she went on her way.
Do you remember seeing a lady out in the parking lot that was having car problems?
No, sir.
That's going to be our dead lady.
That's what I've been told.
Yeah. You don't remember seeing her at all?
No.
All right, do you remember seeing a security guard out in the parking lot?
Not really.
Don't remember him flashing shining a flashlight on you at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning?
No.
You don't remember seeing
I remember that.
Okay. What would you guess would be the time you got back to the motel? 3 o'clock?
I'm guessing more like 5.
5 a.m.?
5 a.m.
In his original statement, Cecil claimed they dropped this lady off at the Safeway around 3 a.m.
It's less than a 10-minute drive from the Safeway to the Holiday Inn.
So where were you between 3 and 5?
Like I said, after we left the park, we went where her car was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we sat there and talked for a few minutes.
Okay, for a few minutes.
Yeah. Then
She got in her car and left, and I got in my car and went back to the motel.
That doesn't take 2 hours.
So we can't count for your time between 3 and 5.
There you go.
Correct?
There you go. Cecil messed up. Cecil didn't quite cover the most important time window of all. From 3 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the morning. That's when Alma ends up shot dead with a .22 to the back of her head, having been sexually assaulted with something unusual. And there was Cecil at that time in that parking lot. So what do you think?
All right. Well, thank you. Thank y'all for your time. We appreciate it.
Cecil lied about everything. I'm happy, happy, happy. I'm as happy as a puppy with 2 Peters.
I think this case is nice. It's like a puzzle, and the pieces all fell into place. We've confirmed that TJ left Alma stranded in the Holiday Inn parking lot around 2:30 in the morning. When he left her, her car would not start.
I told him to go get the truck keys and give you a jump.
You went inside and went to bed. Last time you seen her.
Yeah.
That might be the single most important thing he said. When I leave her, her car wouldn't start. And according to our assault victim, Cecil would have been headed back to the Holiday Inn around that same time. Now a 2-hour gap.
Yeah, 3 to 5.
We also have learned that Cecil enjoyed using his fists during sex and had even sexually assaulted another woman with his fist that very same night. And according to the medical examiner, that sex act is consistent with Alma's very unusual wounds.
This injury can be caused by fisting.
Even though he denies it, many witnesses have said that Cecil carried a .22 caliber semi-automatic chrome pistol, the same type of gun that killed Alma. And our assault victim can testify that Cecil threatened her with that weapon the very same night.
Why would you deny it? Because that's your murder weapon. Yep.
And David Wakefield identified a very tall man resembling Cecil at the Holiday Inn with Alma at 4 a.m. Drunk, angry, and shirtless, just the way our sexual assault victim described him when she last saw him. What are the odds in the whole wide world that in Bay City, Texas, at the Holiday Inn at 3 to 4 in the morning on this particular night, a different person is walking around looking like this? What are the odds of that? That's your $1 million point. We've got a mountain of circumstantial evidence against Cecil Kynard. Let's just hope the DA agrees. They've been in there for 3 hours.
Right?
So I have no idea what's going on. I wanted to spy, but I didn't. Fred and Kim have been sitting with the Matagorda County DA, Stephen Reese, for hours. They are trying to convince him that there's enough probable cause to present the case to a grand jury for capital murder charges against Cecil Kynard. Now this is just a waiting game. Right. Finally.
Good morning, guys. How y'all doing?
Y'all been in there for 3 hours. What'd he say?
Well, it went very well. We started off with the living victim. He watched the interview with her, was very impressed, but he is willing to take it to the grand jury.
High five! Aren't you excited? Oh, that's awesome. Kim, aren't you happy?
I'm excited. It went great.
We really do care. We have our own families, and we see people hurt. And if we can do anything to help relieve that pain that they're going through for 26 years, it's well worth it.
You know, this case had some rocky moments. There were some days where I thought, we're not going to solve it, and we got to go tell Cassie where I got it.
I'm very excited about being able to tell Cassie. Being such a young girl when all of this happened, those are really hard things to deal with, and at least now she can say, my mother will finally get justice.
Hello.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Likewise.
Thank you for coming again.
Thank you so much.
We talked to a whole lot of people, and Fred and Kim took the case to the DA, and he has decided to take the case forward and present it to a grand jury.
Oh,
And
wow.
ask for murder charges against Cecil Kynard.
Have you ever even heard that name in this case?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What do you think about all that?
It's just been such a long time.
26 years. And I think we're all very sorry for all you've been through. And we're really sorry for the things you were told long ago that made you not push this forward. But I hope you're glad now that you have.
just feel like I've awakened from a dream. I'm so short on words. My mind is racing.
I think your mom is looking down right now thinking, way to go, my independent baby. For fighting the fight and getting them to pay attention and not forgetting and taking care of business. You should be very proud of yourself.
Just had to do what I had to do.
You got it done. There are a couple of things that I hope Cassie appreciates.
Thank y'all so much. Thank you.
That there were officers here in Matagorda County and Bay City who never gave up.
Thank you so much.
That the things that she heard about her mom were never thought by everyone. That people are going that extra mile for her mom.
It's going to be okay. We'll get it all taken care of.
And I hope Cassie appreciates that they're doing that for her mom and for her. And I hope that makes her feel better.
Don't miss an all-new episode of Cold Justice, Friday at 9 on TNT.
Aren't y'all excited to still be in Texas? The blue bonnets are out, the Indian blankets are everywhere, people are taking pictures. It's so pretty here. It's 89 in Vegas. Everybody can't live in the bling bling capital of the world. So our victim was last seen by her husband in 1986. Diane Holscher was 39 years old. She was the mother of 2 children. They come from a very good neighborhood in San Antonio.
She owned her own business. She was a designer. She was into high-end furs and high-end clothing.
On the surface, it would seem like Diane Holscher had it all. She had a good family, she had money, she had a happy life, and then one day she was just gone. When Diane was last seen alive, February the 4th, 1986, she was going to Houston to try and sell some high-end fabric from her store. They didn't know where she'd gone, and she was just missing. And they find her remains out here in Waller County on the way to Houston 11 years later.
Waller's, what, like 3 hours away from San Antonio?
2.5, 3 hours.
Well, that's a long way from home.
When a murder case takes place in a lot of different counties, it's up to any one of those law enforcement agencies to take over that case and do something about it. With agencies so busy these days, it's really hard for them to pin down who a case should go to. We keep seeing that in our cold cases when they get left between counties. Everybody's so busy, nobody wants to say it's my case, but you got to give Waller County credit. They did.
Sure.
This is going to be, once again, picking up the pieces, talking to everybody all over again, and hoping for some good luck.
It has been 16 years and still no answer.
Police consider her killing a cold case.
Years later, the case is still unsolved.
There are so many cold cases out there just waiting to be solved.
The crime scene ultimately tells the story of the murder.
We want to bring justice to these victims. We're here to meet Lieutenant Heather Owens.
Okay.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi. I'm Heather.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you so
Hi.
much.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. We want to tell you that we give y'all full credit for taking on this case when other agencies could have and didn't.
A skeleton was found in our county in 1997. We had no way of identifying the remains at that time.
Automatically, the police researched their files and any small neighboring counties looking for missing people, looking for any possible homicides of females that were never identified.
But since San Antonio is more than 150 miles away and not a neighbor of Waller, they were never presented with Diane as a possible ID for Jane Doe. Then, in 2014, the University of North Texas Center for Human Identifications, which keeps a database of missing persons' DNA from across Texas, matched DNA from the body found in Waller with DNA from Diane's son. That was collected as part of San Antonio PD's missing persons investigation, and they were able to positively ID the remains as being Diane Holscher.
That set off a chain of events that leads us to this investigation in a case that's basically 26 years old.
Hi, I'm Heather Owens. Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Alan Brown has come in to work on this case. He was with the Houston Police Department Homicide Division for 25 years, and he's still in touch with some of the guys that actually worked this case when it was just a missing person case all those years ago.
That's real Texas lawman right there.
Right.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, so at that point, the remains are found in your county. They get identified very recently.
Once we learned of the DNA match, that's when we started finding out everything about her.
What did you have as far as an offense report at that point? Probably not much, right?
Not much, no.
So you put all that together, collaborating with San Antonio PD and HPD.
Do you put all that together just in the past 6 months?
Yes.
Wow, less than that. Less than that, yeah.
I just feel that we have a responsibility to the community, and I took an oath, and that means very, very much to me.
Good for you. Okay, so why don't y'all start with the beginning of the story?
February 13th, 1986, Joseph Holscher Sr. reported his wife, Diane Holscher, missing to San Antonio Police Department. Diane Holscher was a young, beautiful woman in the prime of her life. She was in fashion. She had her own business where she was making custom dresses.
Okay, so here's our picture of Diane Holscher. How long have they been married?
10 years.
10 years?
10 years.
According to the report.
They had little kids.
Yes.
Joe and Diane had 2 children, the son who was 9 years old and a daughter who was 6.
According to Joseph Holscher, his wife, Diane Holscher, left to go on a business trip around February 4th of 1986 to take her fabrics to Houston and the Dallas area to sell on February 13th, 1986. A briefcase was found in Waller County. We ended up learning belonged to Diane Holscher. In May of 1986, Diane Holscher's vehicle is located in Houston at the Galleria Mall in the parking lot.
3 months after she went missing, Diane's car was found in a mall in Houston where her husband said she was heading. So the question is going to be, did she actually make it to Houston and her car sat in a mall parking lot for 3 months unnoticed? Or was it placed there sometime later as the killer was trying to cover their tracks?
Okay, so as far as our world of suspects, why don't we first start with Joe Holscher Sr. Joe is the one who actually reported Diane missing, and he's the one who's been in the middle of this investigation for all these years. He's done a lot of suspicious things. The first thing is he waited more than a week before he ever even reported her missing.
He's not concerned about her being missing. He's not concerned about making a report.
He didn't follow up to try and find her. Did nothing to check on her.
Right.
Okay. What else?
Sounds like they were having financial problems.
Joe and Diane like to enjoy and show off their lavish lifestyle, but the truth behind the story is that they did have a lot of financial troubles, and a lot of people often wondered where Joe's money came from. What about the life insurance policy? $500,000. That's all we need to write up there.
That's the biggest.
$500,000. Just 2 years after Diane's disappearance, Joe had her declared legally dead and collected on a $500,000 life insurance policy. This certainly seems suspicious, but on the other hand, maybe he needed money after Diane went missing. If you're a single parent raising kids, you're going to collect on a policy if you have it.
So Joe Holscher is not the suspect. An unknown guy is. We also want to consider the possibility that while Diane was traveling to Houston for business, she could have been abducted by a stranger or possibly killed in a botched robbery.
She was just a random victim of violence.
Okay. After all, the location of her body, the briefcase, and her car could have been consistent with her being killed while on the road. Diane's mother, brother, and sister-in-law have traveled here from Florida and Alabama for our investigation.
Just from talking with you guys, I know how much of a wonderful person she truly was.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate it very much. It's been like 29 years. We wanted to come on out here because Mom wanted closure, and hopefully we can get something.
Don, why don't you start by telling us some things about your sister?
She was a great gal. She loved people. She was kind. She was considerate. She had a great heart.
Diane was a beautiful seamstress, just beautiful. She made all her prom dresses and everything. So I just didn't expect to go through all this. But they say I'm strong and I can do it, so
Guess you have to.
She didn't deserve to have to go this way. I just can't feel there's a closure yet. Just seems like she wants to come and say, "Hi, Mom, how are you?" I'd like to see her, but I can't. But I will someday.
Why don't you talk about Joe and their marriage and their situation?
I guess I had my opinion of him right away. I just thought he was pretty smooth, and I never knew what he was doing. I don't know where the money came. But as long as my daughter was happy and loved him and everything, it was okay.
One thing that we thought was weird about this whole thing is that the only way Mom found out that Diane was missing was that she was calling one of the children to wish her happy birthday. And then Joe got on the phone and said, "By the way, Diane's been missing for 4 weeks." It's just kind of weird. Joe got on the phone and said, "By the way, Diane's been missing for 4 weeks." It's just kind of weird.
We are investigating the murder of Diane Holscher, if her husband Joe Holscher was involved in her disappearance and death, or if it was just simply a random act of violence.
He got his money from Aetna. I don't know.
Did Joe ever admit to you that he had money problems?
No.
Okay.
He told his mother, because his mother called Jim and I, and she said, "Well, he wants a bunch of money from me."
That summer after she was missing, I was out in San Antonio, and I went down to the police department because we hadn't had any contact with Joe, and just to find out where things were. At that time, they had reason to believe that Diane did not want to be found. There had been some financial problems, bad checks written. They just were kind of backing off because they just felt that she wanted to be missing. But she was not the kind of person to ever go off and leave her children. That was the one thing that did not make sense. For years, we'd think at Christmas or birthdays or whatever, maybe we'll hear from Diane. But then we never did. And so when Diane's remains had been found and identified, it was a huge shock.
We hope that we can give you some answers and some good news. So we're going to go start trying to find people and talk to them.
We appreciate it very much what you're doing. What you're
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Since we don't know where Diane was killed, we have to try and retrace the steps her killer took disposing of the evidence in order to try and figure out if this was a random killer or if her husband was the killer.
Okay, so first we're gonna go see where the briefcase was.
There are 3 key locations in this case. The roadside where her briefcase was found on February 13th, the mall parking lot where her car was found 3 months later, and the field where her body was found 11 years after that.
So just kind of a lot of rural area, huh?
Yes. Your favorite, girlfriend, country roads.
Exactly. All right.
That's an oil field access gate.
It's an oil field road that runs west off of 2855. The drainage ditch runs north and south across the road. Recovered property is on the south side in the water. It's right down there.
In the water.
Okay.
Right there.
The briefcase had really nothing of value in it except for Diane's driver's license.
Or here. Right here. Right here.
Right here. What a good place to dump it.
It's strange that this is the only item of Diane's that was recovered. It almost looks staged, like someone wanted the police to know that the briefcase belonged to Diane Holscher. So they put her driver's license in it. Regardless, it doesn't seem like something a random killer would do. 3 months after Diane was last seen in her home in San Antonio,
Diane's car was found at the Galleria Mall in Houston, Texas.
if Diane made it all the way to Houston and checked into a hotel at the Galleria Mall, then it makes total sense that her car would be parked there.
Got Neiman Marcus this way. Her car would have been pretty much directly in front of us. The mall security, you know, part of their job typically is to check the abandoned vehicles. If security keeps seeing their car, they will at the least have it just towed off.
We don't have any statements from mall security at the time, but it seems next to impossible that her car could sit abandoned in the mall for 3 months and nobody notice.
I'm never going to buy in the fact that that car's been here for 3 months. Never going to buy that.
I agree.
If Diane's car was moved to the mall parking lot after she went missing, it's just another strike against the theory that her death was a random act of violence. After all, wouldn't a random killer want to ditch her car right away? Not to hold on to it, only to place it in a mall parking lot months later?
Have a seat. Thanks for coming all this way, Gene.
You're welcome.
Gene Hensley was a Houston police detective who responded to the abandoned vehicle at the Galleria Mall.
Back in '86, we received a recovered vehicle report. So we got over there, and there was a vehicle there in the parking lot.
HPD notified Joe Holscher that his missing wife's vehicle had been recovered, and he traveled from San Antonio to meet detectives on the scene.
He was quite emotional at the time, on the verge of crying. And he said that his wife had come to Houston to do some business regarding her dress shop.
Joe says that he helped Diane load several rolls of fabric into her Jeep before she left. But neither fabric nor any luggage was ever found in the car. Did a random killer steal these items, or were they never put there to begin with?
Said he'd talked to her why she was here.
And he said that he'd only talked to her one time after she left San Antonio?
That's right.
Did he tell you at all where she might be staying or anything like that?
Didn't say.
Joe initially told police that he did not talk to Diane after she left. Then he told police that he did speak to her once, but he didn't know where she was staying. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks. Good to see you again.
We're going to go see the old farm where the skeletal remains were found. She was found 11 years after she went missing.
She was 75 feet from the road, which would be 25 yards.
She would have been like right in this area here. The fact that the body was found 11 years after the day of her disappearance creates a lot of hurdles for you because there's not much evidence.
There's nothing left but skeletal remains, so you have no way to establish bruising or any wounds. There were multiple injuries and defects on the skull, but it's impossible to tell if those were the cause of death or if it's just from the remains being in nature for 11 years.
Y'all grew up out here. Y'all talk about how busy it was 28 years ago at nighttime in this area.
I mean, there wouldn't have been anybody out here. Traffic was few and far between. This was just a little farm to market road. That's all it was. We were in sticks.
One thing about how easy it would be to whoop in right there, run over there, dump her, get back in your car and leave and head back to the big city.
Fast and easy.
Look how brushy this is. Look how easy it would be to have a body hidden in there for a long time and nobody could see it. It's all brushed. This is way cleared compared to the picture. Hiding the body in a place like this was the smartest thing the killer could have ever done. It was 11 years before her body was found, and it was 17 years before she could ever even be identified. Because whether it was Joe Holscher or some random killer who murdered Diane, after 28 years, a lot of the little details that will help you with a case like this are long gone. In 1986, Diane Holscher went missing from her home in San Antonio, leaving behind her children, her husband, and a whole lot of questions. She was discovered 11 years later in Waller County, and when those remains were identified in 2014, the Waller County Sheriff's Department began their investigation, trying to determine if her death was a random act of violence because she was traveling to business or if her husband, Joe Holscher, was involved.
All right, guys, this is Detective Lopez, retired San Antonio Police Department.
Detective Lopez was a cop for 32 years, probably worked thousands of cases in his career. He retired 23 years ago.
Does that case stand out in your mind?
Yes, yes, it does.
Yet he still remembers Joe Holscher.
Okay, when is the first time when he tells you about this trip to Houston?
She had gone on business.
Okay.
He was very evasive. When I first started working on it, it seemed like it was a scam. They had filed for bankruptcy a couple of times.
So there really was a bankruptcy? Because we're not clear on that.
Yes, that's why we figured she's just hiding until he could collect the $500,000
And then be back in the picture.
Right.
So your interpretation at the beginning was that it was a scam on both their parts.
They left the satchel there with just her driver's license, like he wanted us to know that she was missing, you know. It was too obvious.
Okay.
The thing about this guy is that whenever you ask him a question, he would start crying so he wouldn't have to answer you.
Right.
That was the way out of everything.
So it didn't seem genuine to you. It's just like he was avoiding the whole question and answer.
No, he was.
You specifically asked him for the names of some of her friends. And what did he do when you did that?
Starts crying.
How unusual is it that he does not want any of you to contact her parents? How many people make that kind of request? That seems odd.
You don't want to tell her own mom and dad?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It made sense to me if it was just a scam to get that $500,000. I always thought she was alive at the time.
When you're talking to him, did he appear worried?
No, and again, I'm saying this same thing over and over. He starts crying.
Okay.
That way he doesn't have to tell you anything.
It's a shame that Joe and Diane's financial history and Joe's evasiveness led investigators to believe that all of this was a scam that Diane might have been involved with. But it makes perfect sense when you realize that even though Joe and Diane appeared to be affluent, they really had secret financial issues that no one knew about.
When I was working for her, she took me to meet a gentleman. His name was Don. And he had like a very exclusive hat shop in Manhattan. And she was buying hats from him. It was just a few weeks after we had come back from New York that Don was calling the shop and she wouldn't take his calls. He told me, young lady, I would suggest you look for another job because she's not paying her bills.
Okay. Why was the business doing so poorly?
The fashion business is really difficult.
Sure.
And when she opened her shop, it was sort of like a very upscale shop. And it was kind of a little extravagant.
For San Antonio?
For San Antonio. Honestly, we were not making a lot of dresses.
Did you know her to do any business in Houston back then?
No.
So if someone told us that when she disappeared, she was going to Houston to sell numerous rolls of expensive fabric, do you remember her having that kind of excess inventory? Does that sound like something she would do?
There's no way she could have had enough money in fabric in her car to save her business.
Our witness thinks it would be unlikely for Diane to make this business trip. That creates questions in Joe Holscher's story that we need to find answers to.
Hey, look who I found wandering in the hall. Larry Ott was a homicide detective back in Houston during the time this investigation was going on, and actually Larry Ott, when I went to the Houston Homicide Division, was one of the guys who taught me how to be a homicide detective. So Larry Ott was assigned the case along with his partner back at that time.
Okay, so Larry, just start from the beginning and tell us everything that you did and your involvement with the case.
Well, according to her husband, she was coming to Houston to sell fabric. He told us that she normally stayed in hotels around the Galleria. So my partner and I, during that time, checked all the hotels in that area, and no record of her ever checking into any hotel.
No records of her?
No, never heard of her. We checked every fabric place in that area. No one had ever heard of her, and nothing about selling fabric.
Do you remember if they said whether or not they would buy fabric from an individual like that off the streets?
No, they said they would not.
That's important.
Because they didn't know the quality of the fabric.
Okay, so look up here on the board. We now have Larry who can say the fabric story that he gives, Larry has taken care of and eliminated. And the hotel explanation that we have so far, Larry eliminated. Thank you so much. It's a big piece of the puzzle.
It now appears that Diane's trip to Houston may not ever have happened. So now Alan and Lieutenant Owens are going to talk to a neighbor of the Holschers, who gave Joe a ride to Houston after Diane's car showed up 3 months later.
For the ride down, what's your personal interpretation of Joe's demeanor?
It was like he was somewhat emotionless. It was kind of strange reaction because I was expecting him to be a little bit more emotional about the whole thing.
Now, when you drive down there, how do you know exactly where to go?
There was a hotel in the Galleria.
So he specifically wanted to look in the hotel area?
Yeah.
What did he tell you exactly?
She got a room. Supposedly somebody from the hotel somehow told Joe she was seen leaving with some guy. Then she just disappeared.
Really? Joe Holscher never told the police that. Would it shock you if I told you that she had never registered at that hotel?
Wow.
Wow.
He said that she checked into a hotel in the Galleria.
Right, and that's why her vehicle was there.
Yeah.
Initially, Joe says he never talked to Diane the entire time she was gone, but then he told police he ended up talking to her once. Now we hear from Joe's neighbor, and not only does he know where she's staying, but that she's been seen with some guy and never told the police. Joe's statements are all over the place, which makes it suspicious for us.
In 1986, Diane Holscher disappeared and was never heard from again. Her remains were found in 1997, and she wasn't identified until 2014. That turned an old missing person case into a murder investigation. Although we cannot yet rule out she was killed by some unknown assailant, evidence has begun pointing to Joe Holscher, Diane's husband, our main suspect. So we need to look into Diane's personal life to get a better idea of their marriage.
How long did you know Diane?
Several years. Actually, she was my only friend, really, when I lived here in San Antonio. So I had been in her home, and she had little ones. So when she came up missing, that's the first thing I said. You know, she just wouldn't take off because she loved those kids.
How about her relationship with Joe? I mean, if y'all were friends, had lunch a lot together.
I only met him a couple of times, and the only thing I have in the back of my mind is I don't think she knew what he did for a job.
They've been married a while, too.
Do you find that odd?
Yeah. It's just my gut feeling. Maybe she wasn't happy.
Like, she wasn't happy as a person in her relationship?
Yeah, there was something back there that was always, that she just held back.
We are calling because we wanted to talk to you about Diane.
Jeff Davis is one of Diane's other brothers. Our hope is that he might be able to shed some light on her life back then.
Do you want to start with the last time that you spoke with your sister, Diane?
We were talking, and she said that Joe was having psychological problems, and then all of a sudden she couldn't talk anymore. So, I'm assuming he walked into the room, and then we just kind of cut off the conversation. And that was the last time I spoke with her.
And that was approximately how long before?
A week or so, maybe. It was very close to when she was missing.
Okay. I'm really, really glad that you did take the time to sit down and talk with us.
Sounds great.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Bye. Look what I just found. Mr. Holscher filed for divorce from Diane October 13th of 1982.
Think about this for a minute. They're really not getting along. Things are going bad, so he goes to file.
This is brand new information that puts the $500,000 that Joe collected on Diane's life insurance in a new light.
He gets the life insurance on her in 83 sometime.
That's huge. It turns out that the policy Joe collected on was taken out right around the time he petitioned for a divorce, just a few years before she went missing. We've also discovered that the Holschers only had a life insurance policy for Diane, the owner of a small failing business, yet didn't have one for Joe.
If the policy was less than 2 years old, they're going to do an extensive investigation because that's your exclusion period on most life policies.
But Joe knows that. He's going to wait long enough to get past that hump.
Enough.
Diane disappeared 2 years and 6 months after the policy was purchased, making it easier for Joe to collect. You get to keep the house, the cars, the bank account. You get to keep your kids. Yeah, there's no fighting over anything when one of you is gone. You get it all.
So is it possible that Joe and Diane had a troubled marriage, and rather than get a divorce, Joe's solution was to take out a big life insurance policy on Diane and lay in wait? With so much suspicion around Joe Holscher, Lieutenant Heather Owens interviewed one of Joe's exes to see whether she can remember anything regarding whether or not Joe's even capable of murder.
She tried to be nice about what she was saying, and then that's whenever I started asking the harder questions. She never touched base on any domestic violence until I finally asked her specifically. Was there any type of domestic violence in your relationship?
Well, there was not any ongoing
domestic violence.
What do you mean by that?
The thing that happened that made us split was one night I was sleeping and all of a sudden he was on top of me and choking me. Of course, we weren't getting along. We weren't arguing, but violently arguing. Nothing was ever thrown. He never had hit me or pushed me or anything like that. But he made bruises big enough on, I thought I was gone because he's a very large man.
So you were literally asleep
I was there.
to him choking?
Yes. Yes. It was a while. Of course, it could have been a second, but it seemed like a while. I said something to him. Somehow I managed to say something, and he just kind of like crumpled. And he said, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. So I just calmed him down and said, look, I understand. Everybody gets upset. And then as soon as he left for work, that was it. Got a restraining order. And everyone back to him again.
She said that she didn't even know how she was able to scream his name out to get him to stop.
Oh my God. After interviewing witnesses and collecting evidence, it's time for us to talk to Joe's son, whom we've held off on talking to before now because he's still close to his dad. What's the last memory you have of your mom?
It was very close to when she left. I don't actually remember saying goodbye to her.
Okay.
She sat my sister and I down and said, you know, I'm going to sell the business, and I'm doing it because I want to spend more time with you guys.
Yeah.
I just wanted you guys to know I'm going to be leaving, but I'll be coming back.
Joe's son tells us that his mom did go on a business trip to Houston, but you have to remember he was only 10 years old, so does he remember that, or has he been told that his whole life?
Whenever she traveled, they would talk every night. The reason I knew something was wrong is because my dad said, oh, well, you know, your mom is late, and, you know, I was pestering him, like, well, what's the deal with that? And he's like, well, you know, I don't know, she hasn't called, and sometimes she does that, and I remember thinking, well, that's crap.
What is your dad's first best explanation of what happened?
He just laid it out one day. He was like, look, I don't know what's going on. We did everything we can. I've hired people.
Who do you say he hired, Mr. Holscher?
Just some detectives or something.
Okay, so he actually hired his own detectives.
Right.
Your understanding is they helped out.
I guess at some point they tried to retrace her route that she might have taken.
Okay, they retraced her route.
And they were the ones who located her vehicle.
Okay, and you probably never talked to a detective, so you heard they found the car from whom?
My dad.
Remember something about blood?
That came later when I was kind of pushing him, and he said that, yeah, there was blood in the car, and he wasn't sure exactly how much, but...
And that's from your dad, not the detectives, right?
Right.
Since so many of Joe's son's memories seem to come from what he was told all during his childhood, I asked him specifically about those rolls of fabric that his dad told him he loaded into her car that weekend.
That's something I was told a long time later. Apparently somebody was trying to sell fabric in New York. Somebody went in to get it appraised.
How would it be identifiable? How would the people in New York know enough about this fabric to pay attention and that word to get all the way down here to San Antonio?
The fabric in question, as I understand it, was the Swarovski fabric, which actually had crystals sewed into it. And all of that stuff was registered with Swarovski too, so they would have been able to call and say, hey, what's going on with this?
Okay, so this registration and this fancy fabric and the story about what happened in New York, you learn all of that from your dad? Okay. Joe Holscher never told the police that the rolls of fabric Diane supposedly took to Houston turned up in New York City when someone tried to sell them. So either it didn't happen or Joe's keeping this very important piece of evidence to himself for some unknown reason.
He really doesn't like talking about any of this.
Is your dad a crier?
Not really.
How would you best describe their marriage?
I believe that they were the loves of each other's lives.
Do you think they ever gave any consideration to divorce?
He's pretty devout, so I think that would have been difficult for them.
Joe's son's memory of his parents' marriage just doesn't meet the facts. So Quentin showed him the divorce petition that his dad filed on his mom all those years ago. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know it had gotten that bad.
It was filed October 13th of '82.
Because you have to remember, you're a victim. You're a little boy who lost your mom.
To me, this is a miracle. Okay, because I didn't think we were ever going to get these answers. I never thought we were going to be able to give my mother burial.
What if it turns out to be bad news?
I respect the truth a great deal. It's a guiding principle for me, and I would rather know the truth than not know the truth under pretty much any circumstance.
With more and more factors now pointing toward Joe Holscher, it's time for us to talk to him.
We interviewed him for a little over 4 hours. The problem was, if you asked him a pointed question, he would start like he's going to answer the question, never answer it, and he'd go way off into right field.
Alan, being a great interviewer that he is, starts trying to reel him back in, and he goes, "Take a deep breath. I'm not done."
He'd call me by my first name, and he'd go, "Take a breath, Alan. Take a breath."
The thing that infuriated me the most was he claims that he told Diane's family immediately when she went missing.
We tried to pin him down. Was it a week, a month? He goes, "Oh, no, no, no." He said it was just a couple of days.
Joe got on the phone and said, "By the way, Diane's been missing for 4 weeks."
Okay, what else?
That guy can cry on command.
He cried to y'all too?
Oh, yeah.
Whenever we'd get into certain subjects and tough questions, it's like a tear was sitting on the edge of his eyelid ready to roll. And then he'd blink, and there it goes.
So the good thing about the crying, even in front of y'all, is that we specifically asked about Daddy crying. Is your dad a crier?
Not really.
I think we could all agree he has pretty strategic tears.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. One of the things that obviously shook him up a lot, she left at 8 p.m. at night. And he said, no, she left between 6 and 7 in the morning. And I told him, HPD took a written statement from you, and you signed it. And you said 8 p.m. He said, then they're wrong.
Then they're wrong.
And I said, but how can they be wrong, Joe? I said, because that's your statement.
But you know why else that's important? You're doing it analytically as a cop. As a prosecutor, you would go, okay, he says 8 o'clock. Then he goes 6 in the morning. Don't you know the last time you saw your wife alive, you can picture everything. And he can't even get is the sun shining or the moon shining right.
He looked into a PI, but it was going to be $50,000, and so he elected not to hire one.
Who do you say he hired, Mr. Holscher?
Just some detectives or something.
Okay, so he actually hired his own detectives.
Looking at all this, how do you feel, confident or otherwise, as far as presenting it to Elton Mathis, your DA, to see if he'll move forward?
It's circumstantial, which is new for Heather and I, but absolutely it's ready to go to a grand jury.
Joe has told so many stories to so many people over the years that when you gather them all together and you add in the fact that he filed for a divorce just before taking out a life insurance policy on Diane's life that ultimately paid him $500,000, not only can you eliminate the idea that Diane was killed in some random act of violence, you also have a strong circumstantial case against him for the murder of his wife, Diane. It's the really good detectives that can put together these cases. If you get a gun or a fingerprint or DNA or confession,
easy.
that's easy.
Right.
So you should be very proud.
I am proud. I am very proud.
We have been investigating the murder of Diane Holscher, who disappeared in 1986 and was found 11 years later. We have put together a good case against her husband, Joe Holscher, which we are presenting to Elton Mathis, the District Attorney of Waller County. Our hopes are that the DA is going to like the case as much as we do, but it is a circumstantial case with a lot of details and a long story to explain. So in the end, all you can do is present your case and hope that he wants to take it.
Hey, guys.
I missed the blue memo.
Well, we just got back from talking with Elton. He took it. He accepted it. He was very, very
He was
impressed.
excited.
He was
Really?
excited.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was excited.
Awesome. Yes, it is awesome.
That is.
We have worked so hard. This is the best news that we could have ever had, and this is what it's all about. He said there was just way too many lies that Joe was telling.
Are you excited?
I am truly excited. And I thank you guys for helping us do this and moving this forward. And I am extremely pleased with how this turned out. And I am so thankful. And I cannot wait to be able to tell Diane's family that we're moving forward on it.
I think you're going to sit here.
They look so pretty.
Oh, they did? Okay.
We have worked very hard on this, and we went and met with the DA earlier this morning to see if he would accept the case. And he said he would accept the case, and he is going to take it to a grand jury.
I am happy.
That's pretty unbelievable. She's very happy.
It's just overwhelming.
I know it is.
It really is.
I know it is.
Come on, Heather, you gotta come hug her.
I know.
She's been waiting so hard to talk.
I thought of Diane every day, prayed for her every night. But I just never dreamed anything would happen, I don't think. I'm just thinking about the beautiful picture I have in my house, and she's still there. I don't mean to cry.
No, this is something good. I mean, this has been a lot of time that you've gone through, kind of knowing but not 100% knowing what's going on, and now you're finally getting some answers.
I just feel my daughter didn't need this. She really didn't.
No, she didn't. Everyone respected your daughter, and they knew what a good woman that she was.
We knew Heather cared. This wasn't just another job for her. She was so open and so compassionate. I almost feel like she's part of our family.
Well, it was wonderful working on this case. It's even more wonderful that it turned out, and golly, to give y'all such a wonderful family this kind of news. Heather, we told Heather this is why she became a cop. For days like this, and for families like you.
I'm happy for a family, and I'm sad that my dad's not here to hear all this and see what's happened. She had a good heart. She had a lot of compassion, and she loved those kids, and we never saw that she believed on her own. Thank you so much.
Very, very welcome.
Thank you.
If there's a trial, I'm going to be sitting on the front row with you.
Okay, thank you.
The thing is, with a case like this, and someone is allegedly missing, you just live your life not knowing what the hell to think. And they've been doing that for 28 years. And I hope that finally they're going to get the answers that they want and need, because it's been long enough and they finally deserve some answers and justice.
Don't miss an all-new episode of Cold Justice in 2 weeks on TNT.
Have you ever been to Georgia?
I haven't.
I've always liked the way they talk.
It's kind of more of a Southern Belle type accent here in Georgia.
It is.
I like it. It's very,
We're saying you don't like mine? This week we're investigating a cold case in Columbus, Georgia, home to Kirby's Speed Shop and its beloved owner, William Kirby Smith. This case is only 10 years old, and Kirby was only 50 years old.
Right.
He sounded like he was a spunky, one-of-a-kind, good old Southern boy. NASCAR,
Yes.
beer drinking,
Just having fun.
four-wheeling, mud hogging, country boy.
kind of odd, huh, that somebody would want to walk in and put 2 bullets in them.
Yeah.
On March 7th, 2004, Kirby had spent the whole day with his son, having fun, racing dune buggies, and then decided to go by his shop. And at some point that night, Kirby was shot and killed.
We have to start with his estranged wife, any people she might have been involved with, anybody else that was mad at him over business dealings or anything like that. It's a case with a lot of witnesses, and you have to believe that with so many people still around who knew them, somebody knows more than they've ever said before, and that's the hope for solving the case.
It has been 16 years and still no answer.
Police consider her killing a cold case.
Years later, the case is still unsolved.
There are so many cold cases out there just waiting to be solved.
The crime scene ultimately tells the story of the murder.
We want to bring justice to these victims. Who's Randy?
I'm Randy.
Nice to meet you. I'm Kelly.
Nice to meet you.
Matt
Hi,
Blackstock.
nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
We have a lot of witnesses in this case, so in addition to working with the Columbus Police Department, I've called in two of my friends from Houston, Alan Brown and Abby Abadondolo.
So none of these people know we're coming, then, is that? Nobody knows we're coming.
Look who we brought.
Man.
Randy,
Hey, I'm Abby.
Matt, this is Alan and Abby.
Randy?
Randy Long took over this case in 2007, and Matt Blackstock caught the case way back when it happened 10 years ago. We're excited to have him because he has more knowledge about this case than anybody else in the universe.
This was my first real, true whodunit homicide. Not hardly a day went by that this case didn't stick in my mind. I had Kirby's picture up by my office door for the past 10 years. That's the driving force to never give up. Call came in about a shooting victim, and when we got there...
Buddy liked the guy. There was over 1,000 people at his funeral. And I understand as a mechanic, he could fix anything. He liked to race cars, and I hear that he was gracious.
We could not find any kind of shenanigans going on in the background except for the person he was married to. They were going through a difficult divorce.
Talking about Becky.
Becky.
Okay.
Tell me why you wouldn't do something like this.
Well, I wouldn't kill
Why
him.
you wouldn't?
I wouldn't do that to my children. Those children loved Kirby.
Okay. Estranged wife,
Estranged wife.
which is separate and apart from nasty divorce. Custody issues and money issues and property issues and a prenup. The timing of this case is pretty suspicious because it happened the day before Kirby was supposed to meet with his lawyer to finalize his divorce. How about the real motive here? Life insurance.
Life insurance.
How much was he worth?
Well, we know 250.
All the interest was building on it as well.
Let's put 250,000 plus.
This is more like a Hollywood murder.
In love with Heath?
Oh, yes. Andrew Heath Haney.
Heath Haney was involved with Becky at the same time she was going through a very ugly divorce.
He marries her 3 months later.
Pretty freaking fast.
Him and Rebecca had talked about what it would cost to kill somebody. He even brought this same conversation up at work, but he said they were just joking. To me, he was actively seeking some information on how to pull off a murder.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and last we have Bull. Bull Phillips is one of our suspects because he was involved in an unusual relationship with Becky.
He wants the relationship to be more than what it is. She never openly said they had a sexual relationship.
Okay. It's possible that Bull might have been so desperate to please Becky that he would have killed for her. But without evidence of a sexual relationship between the two of them, it's going to be a lot harder to prove that.
He doesn't come across as having a very high IQ. I could see somebody like Rebecca being able to manipulate him.
Do we care about he's the babysitter, he's the...
Yeah, I mean, he's her bitch.
Yeah. This case is tough because all three of our suspects have seemingly solid alibis for the very night of this murder. Becky was at work when it happened. Bull's at a friend's house, and he was allegedly out of town. So it's our job to try and figure out who's telling the truth, who's lying, and exactly what happened the night of Kirby's death. We're gonna go meet Kirby's children from his first marriage, Heather and Dustin.
I'm so excited you're here.
I'm Kelly.
I'm Dustin.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, I'm Heather.
Nice to meet you.
Heather and Dustin were robbed of not having their father in their life for the last 10 years.
Talk about your family.
I'm the oldest and the cutest.
I'm the biggest, but the youngest.
We have the same mom.
Okay.
Same dad.
And
we
your
have a
mom
little
is
brother
Carolyn?
with a different mom. My mom is Carolyn.
Okay.
And then we have little Kirby. His mom is Becky, but we all have the same dad.
How old is he now?
He's 17.
Okay. Tell us about your dad.
Awesome person. Do anything for anybody.
You know, it was always fun. We hugged him every time we saw him, and every time we left.
He hugged everybody.
I'd just be daydreaming out the window, and all of a sudden you just get patted in the chest, and, you know, my dad's driving, and he just said, you know, I love you. Because of him, there's probably not much I can't do, because, you know, we always just fixed or did everything ourselves.
He liked hands-on, get your hands kind of dirty. He wouldn't sit me up on a pedestal, let me be a princess. I had to go to his shop and put my hands in the vat and wash race car parts and do boy stuff. I had a lot of issues with jealousy from Becky because we were really close in age. I think she's like 8 or 9 years older
You're
than
probably
me.
your daddy's baby.
Yeah. She had put taps on my phone line just trying to catch me doing something wrong so she could throw me under the bus. And so I left, and I didn't talk to my dad for 3 years because of her. I even got married, and I sent him an invitation. She sent it back. So my dad didn't even come to my wedding. Dustin walked me down the aisle, gave me away at my wedding.
Because of Becky.
Mm-hmm. When we finally got back together, it was like we were closer than ever. I think he realized how much he missed me.
They ain't talked for 3 years, but when they start talking, it's just like it never missed a beat.
Can y'all talk about the day that you found out he was murdered?
I went to work at the dentist office, and we hadn't even started seeing patients yet, and the phone rang, and they said, your mom's on the phone. So I just hear her crying in the background. She says, your dad. And I was like, what? She said, your dad's dead. And that was I thought maybe he had a heart attack or he had wrecked his Corvette he had just bought. I never in a million years thought that somebody would have killed him. And I still can't believe that somebody would do that.
What did you think when you heard he was shot?
Becky.
Right away?
That's the only person I could think at the time that could benefit from it, that
Or have a
would
reason.
be happy
Nobody else had
that
a
he
reason.
was gone, because nobody else would want him dead. Nobody.
Can you remember when was the first time you talked to and saw Becky after it happened?
At the funeral home when we were making arrangements, maybe.
I think so. But it wasn't, I'm sorry for your loss. It was, where's this? Where's that?
What was she asking for?
Cars.
Oh, property?
Property.
That
stuff
they
like
had
that.
together?
Yeah.
I miss my daddy's hugs. And I miss his big, crunchy hands. When we used to walk into stores or whatever, he'd always grab my hand. And I remember when he used to drop me off at school, he had so much sugar and cream in his coffee. And he would give me a kiss on my cheek when I got out of the car, and I'd have a sticky spot on my face all day when I went to school. So I just miss little things like that.
Y'all seem like a wonderful family. Just let us get busy, and as soon as we know something, we'll let y'all know.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm so excited you're here. Thank you.
I love those two. They're genuinely sincere, good people who love their dad and really, really want us to help solve their dad's case. God, I freaking love them.
All right, guys, we are going to go to the crime scene so that we can see this firsthand, what that office looked like, where Kirby was obviously murdered in his shop. I'm getting the impression by the photos it's going to be really small, so it's going to be interesting to see actually how many of us we can even really get in there. One of the very helpful things about visiting our crime scene today is that we have Matt.
What's up, man? Hey, how are you this morning?
He's the first officer that arrived at Kirby's speed shop after the murder. He knows firsthand what the crime scene looked like, but will that help us find out who the killer was that day? Kirby spilled immediately after that. What really caught my eye was how clean the floor is. I don't think there was any kind of struggle in here.
Right.
There's no forced entry, right? You guys didn't see that? The location of Kirby's body indicates that he was sitting down at his desk when he was first shot at point-blank range. And it's about 15 feet between the desk and the front door. Factor in no signs of struggle, it's obvious that Kirby must have felt comfortable enough with his killer to let them approach him.
Okay, let Harvey sit in that chair looking at the wall as if he's on the computer. And then Yolanda, you walk us through being the shooter and what you think happened.
Shooter comes in the door, sees Kirby sitting at his computer. We know that the first round enters right here in the back of the left shoulder, hitting both lungs, part of the heart. His lungs, his chest cavity, everything is filling up with blood. He falls down.
Every time.
I think it speaks volumes when someone puts a bullet in the back of someone's head just to make sure you are dead.
It's more like an execution.
It is. It is execution.
Anyone can shoot someone from a distance, 10 feet, 20 feet, and shoot them in the back. But to walk right up and push the barrel of the gun up to the back of their head, that's incredibly personal.
We get to hear a bunch of Georgia accents today.
Get to hear some Southern bells.
This case is only 10 years old, so that means we have a lot of witnesses that are still alive and still around. I'll interpret for you.
Oh, I understand them. It's you Texans.
First up is Kirby's employee, Lee Shepard. He's the one who found Kirby's body that morning.
When's the last time that you saw Kirby alive?
Sunday, we had a family reunion up at Pine Mountain. And he actually told me that day, I think I made a deal with her. He said she wanted $20,000 in her dune buggy, and they would call it even. And then Monday morning is when I went to the shop and I found her.
Lee and Kirby worked together for years. What we want to know is what Lee knows about Kirby and Becky's relationship and how hostile it was.
So when you're working for him at the shop, do you have any specific incidents?
Oh, yes. She's smacked him. She just hit him.
And when we say smacked, is it like just a hit on the shoulder?
That's a lunatic, really. She wanted everything. I mean, because she'd come in, she goes, this is my place. This was her shop. I know one thing, I wouldn't want to be in Becky's way if she got pissed off.
One evening, she came running down the driveway and kicked in my front door on the trailer that I was living in. We tried to hide from her because I was scared.
Did he ever mention to you if she had ever threatened him?
Oh, yes. She told him a number of times that she would kill him or have him killed.
She threatened to kill him, is that right?
Absolutely.
He said that she would poke him in the sleep with a needle or something and kill him.
He told you that?
He told me that face to face.
I think Becky killed him. I think she did herself. She is a very intelligent person. Do not be lulled into thinking otherwise.
I believe that Kirby was set up. Something went bad. The boyfriend was there somewhere, somehow, because it wasn't long before she married the old boyfriend.
Everyone we talked to says that Becky had it in for Kirby and she wanted him dead by any means possible.
You know, when you go through a divorce, there's all kinds of feelings of being mad and I'm gonna get that son of a bitch, I'm taking everything. But we didn't have that anymore. We totally agreed on everything.
Did you ever threaten to kill Kirby?
Oh yeah, I said stuff like that. Hell, I told my present husband I'd kill him probably a couple times. But he's still walking the face of the earth.
Becky and Heath got married just 3 months after Kirby's murder, and both of them benefited from that $250,000 life insurance policy. It's time for us to try and figure out more about the relationship between Becky and Heath.
Hello.
And whether or not he wanted Kirby dead out of jealousy or anger or because Becky manipulated him.
How would you describe their relationship?
From what I understand, he's totally different with her than he was with me.
In what way?
With me, he was very controlling, and it seems like with her, he's the one being controlled. The role kind of reversed.
Really?
They did things to just torture me.
Like what?
Like putting fake ads in Craigslist with my phone number attached to them.
Oh.
They had somebody following me when I went out with my girlfriend, taking pictures of me. There's a book that they keep of all the things that they've done to me. Newspaper ads, custody papers.
Becky and Heath turned Heath's ex's life into a living hell. And it sounds like when they did it, Becky was calling all the shots.
Well, if you think of anything else, we would appreciate it if y'all give Harvey a call.
I will say this. I just feel like she's holding something over his head and he wouldn't do what he's doing.
Becky is definitely our strongest suspect in Kirby's murder. But what we have to figure out is, did she do it alone or did someone else pull the trigger? We know that Becky and Heath had the most to gain from Kirby's death, and we know Becky was a very manipulative woman.
Want to sit on the bench?
It's time for us to talk to Heath to find out how far he was willing to go to make Becky happy.
How did you and Kirby get along?
I never talked to him except for one time on the phone.
How nasty of a divorce was it?
It was bad. All the money she put into everything, she wasn't getting nothing. He was going to take little Kirby.
You told the police that you and her talked about what it would take to have someone kill him.
I told her what a guy in the Marine Corps told me. And he told me with my first wife, all you got to do, he said, I can get rid of her. And I didn't want that. I mean, nobody wants that.
Right. Do you think behind your back she could have went out and gotten somebody to do it?
I honestly thought that. But there's no way. I mean, she was devastated when he died.
Did you ever wonder if there was something between Becky and Bull?
I did for a long time, yeah.
Was Bull in love with her?
I think so.
But I'm going to tell you, I think you know more.
I know in my heart that I didn't do it.
You know
I
what?
know in my heart that she didn't do it.
She convinced you.
Everybody here thought she did it.
Right.
Not to mention, you know, her whole family. family.
But she convinced you then, because otherwise you wouldn't have married her.
Right.
I mean, that's...
Yeah, that would be stupid, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I like what we heard.
He said, I told the truth, man. I had nothing to hide. He still says he loves her. He still thinks she didn't do it. We weren't thinking he was going to say otherwise. Heath didn't offer anything incriminating about himself. His story still has not changed, and he seems very believable. But there are still too many questions to eliminate him as a suspect just yet. We're going to focus on Becky's actions the night of the murder. We know that she called Heath around the time of Kirby's murder, so we're going to look through her phone records to see if there are any other suspicious calls around that time.
He's actually on the phone with Becky. I think they make that call like at 9:10 or 9:08. He's dead at 9 o'clock. But if you take all the records that they got, Becky and Bull typically talk anywhere from 5 to 15 times a day. Then all of a sudden, on the day of the murder, there's 29 total calls. It's 29, which is a lot.
I think that's a lot. Especially when he just left her house and within 15 minutes of leaving her home, he is calling like 12 times. What is so urgent?
Becky did call Heath right around 9 o'clock, which is the time of Kirby's murder, but it's all those calls from Bull that really stand out. He called her 29 times that day. Most suspiciously, he called her 8 times between 9 and 9:15, and then he called her 2 more times from a payphone at 9:30. He starts blowing up her phone after he's done it because he wants to tell her because he wants her to be impressed.
Of course.
She probably says, "You stupid bastard, alibi yourself."
I think for Bull, it's the concentration of calls highlighted by making a phone call from a payphone.
In his original statement, Bull claims that he was using the payphone because he was trying to get rid of some spare change. An excuse that I think anyone would agree is ridiculous.
That phone call from the payphone is what nails it for me.
It's clear we need to better understand Bull's relationship with Becky to find out if his rumored crush on her could have motivated him to murder in order to please her.
You mentioned Bull. Why would people think y'all were having an affair?
Just because he would help me out. Like when Kirby and I separated, he would help me with the kids. He was just a friend. I mean, he'd do anything for either one of us, not just for me.
What about Bull? Can you tell me much about him?
Quiet. I know he did whatever she asked him to do.
Like what? Like what would she ask him to do?
To go pick up something, go to the grocery store, whatever he was like her, go for it.
Were they ever together at all?
It would seem like that he did so much for her. What's he getting out of it?
Yeah.
But no, I don't know.
Would you say she was a manipulative person?
Oh, yes. She's told stories about her being in the bathtub and Bull sitting in the bathroom with her while she takes a bath. And yeah, I mean,
she told you
that's
that?
just but that's just a platonic relationship.
I have thought about this long and hard. My daughter, Becky, is adopted.
Mm-hmm.
And the very first thought I heard when Kirby was dead was she killed him.
That was your first thought?
Absolutely.
You know Bull?
I know Bull. He's her boy. He's dumb as a doornail. Dumb enough he lets her use him. Was she having a sexual affair with him, more likely?
Is Jenny where we could go and talk to her?
My daughter?
Yeah. Can she come out, or we?
Yeah, she's in the front bedroom. I'll go get her.
Janice had not one good thing to say about her daughter. You know, we used to always say that you're so bad, the only person who loves you is your mother. And in this case, not even her. The whole time that y'all were back and forth to the apartment in Atlanta and all that, Bull ever come up there?
No. His usefulness ran out around the time that she got married.
With Heath?
Yes. They never really had a relationship. But he was always around. He was constantly looking to please her.
Do you think she's leading him on?
Yes. I mean, the way that she does most people. Becky's very exploitative. She's really just a mean kid with a magnifying glass and a bunch of ants.
This is Sergeant Matt Blackstock in Columbus, Georgia.
Yes, sir.
Could you go back to the night that all this took place with Bull showing up?
Bull's alibi for the night of Kirby's murder was that he left Becky's house around 8:45 p.m., went to the Taco Bell where he called Becky from that payphone, dropped by his friends Cynthia and Rusty Harmon's house around 9:30, and then went to work around 10:30.
I remember it being very strange. Bull called me and he said that he was down on the corner and he wanted to know if he could come by for a few minutes. No problem. I said, we're fixing to order pizza. Do you want something? And he said, no, I'm good. I've already eaten. So he comes over and he was, I don't know, Bull is an odd dude anyway. Even for him, he was acting extremely distracted and irregular. So, well, I said, I guess we're going to order a pizza. And he said, oh, good, I'm starving. I said, I thought you said you already ate. And he said, well, he said I was down at the Taco Bell and was going to get something to eat. And I stood there for a minute and I forgot what I was doing. So I just left. I'm like, okay.
That is pretty odd.
Who goes to Taco Bell and forgets to order dinner? Bull says he does. Really?
To the best of my knowledge, I cannot remember another time when he had been at our house. I mean, he never just called and dropped by.
We believe that Kirby was killed right at 9 p.m., and Becky's house is less than 3 miles from Kirby's shop. So after leaving Becky at her home at 8:45, Bull could have gone and killed Kirby, then called Becky multiple times to tell her about the murder. At that point, Becky probably told him to establish an alibi, which would explain why he dropped by the Harmon's house and he was acting so strangely.
It's almost like he's trying to come up with an alibi, trying to force an alibi by showing up over there.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now that we've poked holes in Bull's alibi, we need to check Becky's. After all, if Bull did kill Kirby, he did it for Becky. Becky's alibi is that she was working as a nurse the night that Kirby was killed and that she was called in at the last minute. We were able to verify that was the truth. She was even captured on camera at work that night. But even though she couldn't have pulled the trigger, we all feel pretty sure that Becky orchestrated Kirby's murder.
If I were planning a murder, I would be like, well, I need to make sure I have an alibi. I didn't have any idea I had to go to work. I got paged and had to leave immediately and go in for a C-section in Warm Springs.
Becky's pretty smart. She's not going to go with the regular old alibi. She's going to make it even better and plan it to the degree that, oh my God, at the last minute, she got called into work, so she has a really good alibi.
We're interested in talking to you because Rebecca Smith was supposed to be on call that night. Can you tell us about that?
What we want to try and figure out is whether or not Becky could have even arranged to have this surprising new call into work as her alibi. If I'm Becky and I want to be able to alibi myself, tell me how, if there's a C-section coming up, I can use that to my advantage.
We normally have a list of patients that are pregnant, and the doctors and the nurses keep track of when they're due. You can look ahead and see if you want to be on call a certain weekend. I'm telling you, she can plan that. I'm telling you, she can plan that.
So that's seriously. We find out she's the one that started the call program. She's the one in charge of making the schedule and getting the nurses and setting it all up. Could she have been able to set up the schedule to where she was the one on call, knowing full well she might get called in that night? Well, heck yeah.
I think she came in that day. She was hysterical. She was crying out, laughing, then crying.
We've raised some serious doubts about Becky's alibi. She may not have shot Kirby herself, but add what we've learned about her violent temper, death threats, and life insurance payout, and the evidence suggests that Becky truly was the mastermind behind Kirby's murder. The question now is, who did Becky get to kill for her?
Yeah, we're here at the shop. Go knock on his door.
Becky and Bull have always denied that they've had a sexual relationship.
You propositioned me for more, and I was like, no, you were like my brother.
But if they ever did, that would be all the more reason to believe that Bull had a motive to want Kirby dead. So it's time for us to talk to Bull.
Describe Becky to me. What kind of person did you see her as?
She was a real flirty person. That's about it.
When you're over at her house, did she ever take baths and all that kind of stuff in front of you?
Have I ever seen her naked? Yes, I will say that. She was taking a bath one time when I was over there. Yeah.
Did you and Becky ever have sex?
No, nothing regular.
Nothing regular?
No.
How many times would you say?
I don't recall.
Yeah?
Less than 5?
Yeah.
5 to 10?
Okay, finally, the truth comes out. Not only did we just catch Bull in a lie, it's clearer than ever just how Becky manipulated him.
Were you in love with Becky?
No.
Not at all?
Not at all.
You know, most murders are passion or it's because they're in love.
They'll do anything for somebody if they think they're going to get that person.
Nah, I wouldn't do that.
Do you think Becky has anything to do with Kirby's murder?
Not that I know of.
Did you ever hear Becky or Becky
Ever ask you to find somebody to kill Kirby?
No, sir.
Did you ever hear her threaten to kill Kirby?
No. I
think you got problems? I mean, with Becky, I mean, she's got you
in a pickle. And that's what we're trying to...
I ain't got nothing to do with it, so that's about all I can
All right, hang on.
I got a couple.
Hang on, I won't run you off, man.
I mean, I'm getting to a point.
Yeah,
I done went through this last time. I didn't have nothing to do with it. I'll tell you that. I had nothing to do with the murder.
Well, this is the thing, okay? It looks like you kind of do because on Sunday you call her 29 times, okay? So you call her all these times, and why do you use a payphone when...
Because she would block my calls a lot of times, wouldn't answer my phone. So I called from a different number.
Oh, that's good. Today, Bull is saying he used a payphone because Becky used to screen her calls. That's not what he used to say.
In your statement to the police, you said that you left around 8:45. Where do you go at that time?
I went and got something to eat, and then I went over to my buddy Rusty's house.
Was that common?
I would go over there from time to time.
Yeah. But we talked to Cindy, and she said that you'd never
been over there at night. And of course, you see
where I'm going with that. You know, dummy. Is that, 45 minutes after somebody's killed, you're over somebody's house. And they say, well, that's the first time he's ever been over at night.
All right, I'm going to have to end it here because I see where you're going with it.
Well, I'm just asking the question.
Well, you keep asking the same thing over and over and over.
Well, that wasn't.
And that's all I can tell you.
Boy, that was quick, though. You start talking about his little alibi, and boom.
Harvey and Allen's interview of Bull was great. If you're trying to picture whether or not someone like Bull could be a shooter, ask yourself this question. Do you think that me, Kelly, could find some man who's a little socially awkward and I couldn't convince him to kill somebody for me? Same thing. I'm pretty sure I could. And you know Becky could. She's smarter than I am. After talking to Bull and being able to verify Heath's alibi the night Kirby was killed, it's clear to us we have found the man who shot Kirby. Now we need to prepare the case for presentation to the DA. You got your circumstantial evidence, huge piece of evidence. Bull, for the very first time, admitted to having sex with Becky.
And it was just casual sex, which goes right back to us thinking, she's just giving it to him a little bit here and there.
He's now changed his bizarre excuse for why he used a payphone that night to call Becky.
Never said anything about I had extra change in my pocket.
And when they pushed him for why he unexpectedly showed up at the Harmon's house for the very first time ever that night, he just hopped right out of the car.
Every time Alan went to press him and turn the fire up on the stove a little bit, he reached for the damn door handle.
Did he really? Wait a minute.
We now have enough circumstantial evidence against Becky for being the mastermind of this murder and Bull for being the trigger man. Oh, hi.
Hi.
I'm Kelly.
I'm Julia Slater.
Nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you.
Al Whitaker.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming.
Amen.
We have found numerous witnesses who can talk about the fact that Becky was vengeful and even violent.
She kicked in my front door. We tried to hide from her because I was scared.
She's even talked about killing Kirby in the past.
She told him a number of times that she would kill him or have him killed.
We've learned that Becky could have very easily adjusted her work schedule to manufacture an alibi that night.
I'm telling you, she can plan that.
Wow. And on the day of the murder, there was an excessive amount of phone calls between Becky and Bull.
There's 29 total calls.
Especially at 9 p.m., the time when we all think Kirby was killed. He wants to tell her because he wants her to be impressed.
Yes, of course.
And last of all, you have motive. For Becky, that life insurance policy was worth a heck of a lot more than she was ever going to get if she divorced him. A divorce that was only days away from being final. And for Bull, it was only all about making Becky happy. This case is great. Let's just hope the DA agrees.
So, Miss Julie, what did you think?
I feel like that, with circumstantial cases, if I know that this is the right person, and I know there's enough evidence that a jury could convict him, sometimes you just have to go to trial and see if they will convict him. And I think you've got everything we need.
All right.
Ready to go.
That's awesome.
That's good to hear.
We'd like to go get some warrants today.
All right, go for it.
That is awesome.
They might be slow talking in Georgia, but they ain't slow moving.
Here she comes.
Time to rock and roll.
Even though they have a warrant for Becky's arrest, the detectives want to give Becky the chance to maybe dig her hole just a little bit deeper. It's time for them to chat with the mastermind behind Kirby's murder.
We want to cover like the weekend that the
Murder occurred. You remember who the other nurses were that came in?
I don't remember.
Right.
Who worked with? Who'd you work with last Thursday?
Him.
Just him? I mean, who else did you see, though? Who was in the office on Thursday?
I can tell you in a minute.
But it's not
Well,
that
you're
significant.
much better than I am
It's
from
not
10
that-
years ago.
But it's not a significant event.
Yeah, but the event was not my job. The event was losing Kirby.
Yeah, right.
All right, moving on.
Okay.
Next question.
And look who's running this interview.
Yep. Her.
Becky Smith Haney is not a normal person. She's cold. She never misses a beat. She answers the questions exactly how she wants to.
How about Bull?
What about him?
You and Bull's relationship. Did y'all ever have a sexual relationship?
No.
Never.
No.
Would it surprise you if Bull has told us that y'all did?
Yeah, because we haven't, so.
Well, Bull said it yesterday.
Well, that's
and
a
you.
lie.
That's a lie?
That's a lie.
When you go back and you look and review all your cell phone records.
And you have motive for Kirby to be dead.
You think I hired Heath to do it? Is that what you're asking me?
No, I want to know if you had Bull do it.
No. I didn't have anybody.
Because I know
do
where
it.
Heath was.
Bull was at work that night.
Yeah, he was at work.
Well, okay then. If he's at work, how did he do it?
The murder happened before he went to work. We know that.
Randy's gonna wave us when they're ready.
Randy had a plan to signal Harvey and Matt when it seemed like they were running to dead ends with Becky, and I'm thinking it's about time for him to send up that signal.
He's waving. He's waving.
Go, Matt. She didn't know they're walking up on her.
When I go after somebody, it's not in the way that you're thinking, oh, I've got a plan, oh, I'm going to go and have him killed. Okay, no. So if you want to push me, then I can push back. If he wants to get down and dirty, then
Yeah.
we can get down and dirty.
You want to know?
No, I don't think so.
I'm Sergeant Blackstock.
Oh, I do remember the name.
You're under arrest.
Okay.
Turn around.
Do you think she's acting a little calm for a person who didn't do this?
She realized the potential was there that this could come.
What do you think should happen to the person or persons who did this to Kirby?
It's an eye for an eye. They took a life, then their life should be given. And there's a lot of people that love Kirby. Whoever that person is, he or she, I have so much hatred in my heart for the unknown person. And I can never forget. And they deserve to pay for that. On March 25th, 1997, Marisol Gonzalez and her unborn baby son, Andrew, were murdered in an alley by her house.
The next day, she was going to have that baby.
The very next day?
Yeah.
Sergeant Todd Moore continues to work on that case, and he is consulting with the Yavapai County District Attorney's Office all the time. While Becky was being arrested, the guys had uniformed patrol officers sent out to get eyes on Bull.
You know what they should say when they're hooking him? We talked to her today, and she said you might very well have done this, just to see his reaction. Maybe he'll start rolling on her.
We're hoping that they're going to get lucky because you never know how Bull might react. Is he going to run? Is he going to fight? What's he going to do?
Right there.
Go ahead and put your hands behind your back. Right hand. Right hand.
81 clear. 8814 clear.
Double cuffed him. 10 years ago, when this case came out, I was just a buck private, rookie detective. You know, after so much time, knowing that this is no longer a cold case, I can take that picture down beside my office. It's a great feeling.
They're getting it over here, too.
I will sleep good tonight.
Since they moved so fast here in Columbus, Georgia, in a matter of hours, we were able to witness the double arrest of Becky and Bull.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
How are you, girlie?
Good, how are you?
A lot of people knew Kirby. A lot of people know Dustin, and they know Heather. The minute this gets out, their phones are going to be blowing up. I don't think that it's fair that they find out that way.
So you want to know what we were doing at 4 o'clock today? We were all sitting in a parking lot watching Randy and Matt and Harvey put handcuffs on the wrist of Becky and arrest her for the murder of your daddy. And she is now charged with murder.
Are you serious?
Yeah. She's sitting in jail, baby. About an hour after that, Randy and Matt and Harvey were putting handcuffs on the wrist of Bull and arresting him for the murder of your daddy. And right now, they're both sitting in the custody of the Columbus, Georgia PD jail.
This is good news.
It's a beautiful case against both of them. And if you sit down and think of all of it with your common sense, she masterminded it and Bull pulled the trigger.
I told you. I said that when you have a reaction like that at the funeral, that she may not have pulled the trigger, but she knows who did, or she had something to do with it.
All those little things are pieces of the story that go to show she's guilty.
I'm just upset for little Kirby. Because now he doesn't have a mom or a dad.
He's got you.
It's not fair. And so I'm happy that somebody is going to pay for taking him away from us.
It's too soon, man. It hadn't even soaked in yet. I think I'll feel more peace when it's final and the judge drops the gavel.
You should sit down with Randy and with Matt, okay, because they're going to be taking this from here on out.
There's nobody better. Your DA is fantastic. Your cops adore you and are wonderful.
That's what Randy's been telling me all along. I want to do this for you.
I'm very glad you decided to come.
Well,
thank you.
It's been 10 long years.
I know. It's a horrible story, but your dad was a great guy.
If he was here, he'd give you a big old hug for helping us.
I bet he would. Well, give us a hug, and we'll let you start making all your phone calls. Kirby's kids are just like Kirby must have been. There's no pretense. They are what they are. And for them to just want to hug us because that's what their dad always did, I can't think of a better way to end a case and a better way of saying thank you.
TNT next Friday on a special results episode of Cold Justice. The master of unsolved crimes, John Walsh, sits down with the Cold Justice team.
You have a smoking gun.
It's crime solver to crime solver, and the truth comes out.
All of us are crying now.
Cold
sướng nhỉ? Làm cái như thế, bó cái công. Phải nhạc viết thì không phải cắt một tập bản quyền. Đúng một tập bản quyền. Còn lại hình như 200 tập, có 3, 4 đến 5 tập là có một tí nhạc, một tầm nhạc thôi ấy. Không bị tiền. Ba phần thì không nào lại ba kênh đồ án này không chỉ một đơn nhiều án là tiêu phí không để đi chung nha.